We have a cultural obsession with the archetype of the ultimate survivor, the lone sailor, teeth gritted, steering his ship through a rogue wave entirely on his own. Psychology has a term for the healthy version of this mindset. It's called an internal locus of control, the belief that your own actions and abilities, rather than outside forces or random chance, dictate what happens to you. Decades of research show that people with this trait generally cope better with stress, bounce back from challenges, and lead healthier lives. When a problem arises, they take proactive steps to solve it. But modern society has taken this healthy trait and pushed it to an extreme. We reward the employee who pulls consecutive all-nighters without complaint, and we praise the parent who manages a chaotic household entirely on their own. Asking for help is quietly treated as a failure. By treating total isolation as the ultimate sign of mental fortitude, we set a dangerous trap. It looks like peak competence on the outside, but underneath, this relentless self-reliance hides a fragile, exhausted reality. A 2023 psychological study looked at a group of Indian Merchant Navy seafarers. Historically, sailors are trained to view needing a rescue as an indicator of terrible seamanship, a profound professional embarrassment. Researchers administered the 16PF questionnaire, a standardized psychological test, to 315 active mariners. They wanted to measure the specific relationship between a sailor's self-reliance and their emotional stability under pressure. The results showed a weak, sometimes negative correlation between high self-reliance and emotional stability. You would expect the most ruggedly independent sailors to be the calmest in a crisis. Instead, the data revealed that refusing to rely on others didn't make them more stable at all. This leaves us with a paradox. If handling everything alone is the blueprint for strength, the most intensely independent people shouldn't be experiencing such high levels of distress and instability. There is a difference between healthy independence, which allows for autonomy while still maintaining connection, and what clinicians call hyper-independence. This is a rigid, absolute defense mechanism where a person avoids asking for help even when completely overwhelmed. This behavior rarely forms by accident. It usually traces back to complex childhood trauma. If a child grows up with unpredictable caregivers, faces emotional neglect, or is forced to act as the adult of the house, a dynamic known as parentification, they adapt. In these environments, the developing brain learns a harsh survival rule. Reaching out for comfort or protection is unsafe. Relying on others leads to rejection, criticism, or chaos. The brain creates a closed circuit system, severing pathways to the outside world and building a thick boundary to manage burdens internally. It immediately rejects external input. This keeps out threats, but offers of support and connection bounce right off. The outside world looks at this person and sees a composed, high-achieving leader who always has it together. But what they are actually looking at is a nervous system permanently trapped in a solitary survival mode. Psychologists talk about a concept called self-validation. This is the healthy ability to recognize your own inherent worth, experiences, and emotions without needing constant external applause or approval. Hyper-independence is not self-validation. A hyper-independent person isn't shutting out the world because they are brimming with quiet internal confidence. They are shutting it out of fear. Over time, the physiological cost of carrying everything alone turns the body into an internal pressure cooker. Without the ability to vent, unreleased stress compounds until the structure begins to fracture. This sustained pressure has severe biological consequences. The body remains in a state of chronic physical tension, flooded with cortisol, the primary hormone that triggers our fight-or-flight response. Eventually, the mind copes by shutting down, leading to persistent emotional numbness. You end up with a stark contrast. On the outside, they are the strong friend, the reliable coworker, the person who needs nothing. On the inside, they are dealing with deep emotional exhaustion and severe loneliness. The psychological armor they built to survive their childhood did its job. It protected them. But now, that same heavy armor is suffocating them, preventing any genuine rest or emotional regulation. If you recognize these patterns in yourself, the first step is removing the self-judgment. Hyperindependence is not a personality flaw. It was a brilliant, highly effective protection mechanism that successfully kept you safe when support was unavailable. But the environment has changed. You are safe now, which means that outdated survival strategy can finally be updated. Recalibrating starts with actively naming the pattern. It's noticing that automatic knee-jerk urge to say, "I'm fine," or take on extra work when you are already completely overwhelmed. From there, you can start deliberately accepting small acts of support. Letting someone carry a box, or answer a question, or check in on you begins to gently dismantle those rigid psychological walls, piece by piece. Healing from complex trauma does not mean you lose your competence or your edge. It simply restores your capacity to rest. This brings us back to a healthy internal locus of control. It isn't a strict mandate that you must handle every single problem alone. It's having the agency to choose when to take charge and when to seek connection. Genuine emotional well-being truly thrives on balance. It requires integrating your hard-earned self-reliance with the vulnerability of actually trusting other people. The myth of the solitary, stoic sailor battling the ocean alone makes for a great story, but the reality of a functioning ship relies on a communicative crew, working together, depending entirely on one another for survival. True emotional stability isn't weathering the storm in total isolation. It's possessing the profound self-validation to admit when the cargo is too heavy, and having the courage to finally ask for help.